in order to get to test the player controller pressing the buttons, you need to make sure that your game mode is set to the game mode that I created inside of the elevator project. So this is what it looks like when you just created a new project and you just added my elevator package to your project. You should see a folder here called elevator, and these other folders are basically the ones that are your project. So this particular project here is basically just a first person template, and I basically just loaded the elevator map under maps and then demo. Now before I press play, I need you want to make sure that the project settings is properly set up to point to the blueprints that I created. So go to maps and modes, and under the default game mode, make sure it's pointing to the one inside of my elevator folder. Just drag this first person game mode here into the game mode, the default game mode, and then this one here, first person character, drag that into your default pawn class. And once you press play, you should load up, and it should show you the red crosshair in there. Oh, actually, sorry, one more thing you need to make sure is you need to make sure it's using my first person HUD. So go back to the maps and modes, and then make sure it's using the first person HUD. Yeah. So yeah, these are the ones that I created inside of my elevator package, and they're all set up to basically use the, the the left mouse button to activate the buttons. So if you press the red crosshair underneath it and just left mouse button, it'll just activate the buttons. And all of that logic is contained within the first person character. So if you double click on this first person character, it's a blueprint, and it'll show you exactly what happens when you press the mouse button. So here you'll see it's basically the same as the default first person character blueprint, but I added a input for detecting elevator buttons, and it's contained right here. So if you take a look at the logic in here, it's basically it just fires a line from the center of the camera, and it just fires it straight forward towards the red crosshair, and it basically detects for any elevator buttons, and if it finds one, it'll just press it. It'll just basically activate it. So that's kind of how the logic works. And so when you're creating these elevators for your own project, I'm assuming you have your own first-person controller blueprint. So what you need to do is you need to basically add this code here. See this code here? You basically need to add this into the event graph, and then it should basically fire off the necessary logic. And yeah, so other than that, make sure that you're using the first person uh, like when you create the project, make sure that you're using the first person template, because this elevator currently is set up using to work with that. If you want to use it in a third person template, you will have to make some modifications to this code here. So instead of drawing the trace line from the first person camera, you would probably want to draw it from, I guess, your third person's eye, or like head, and then just draw it towards the front of wherever he's facing, or however you want to handle it. But basically the logic is it's all contained within here. So yeah. Other than that, yeah, this should be all you need to do in order to set up your character controller to be able to press the buttons. Also, another thing is you also want to make sure that the inputs are set up such that they have the following. Uh, well, these are all the default controls. So, like these should show up when you create a first-person template project, and just make sure that the fire button here is properly mapped, because that's the action that is used to basically press the buttons. So that should be how you set up. Make sure all of these steps are in order, and once you press play, it should spawn you with the red crosshair, and you should be able to just press the buttons.